If you're constantly setting goals but seldom achieving them, this video may change the game for you, because we're going to be discussing what is the power of belief, what is the relationship between belief and behavior, and how can you architect a belief system that works for you, not against you. This is relevant for everyone that has ever attempted to achieve anything meaningful, which is everyone, but especially relevant for entrepreneurs willing to scale. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you are trying to get to goals that you have no evidence that you will ever achieve. You're constantly working against uncertainty and lack of clarity. So the only crutch that you have is actual belief. But if you architect your belief system in the wrong way, it becomes delusional, and you end up having to face the consequences of not having a firm grasp of the ground you're stepping in. So finding, nurturing, and fine-tuning the right beliefs is fundamental for entrepreneurs. And this video is about my framework that we teach our clients in order to achieve ever-increasing goals without fail. If you're new to the channel, I'm Castillo, founder of Selfmastered, Peak Performance Institute for entrepreneurs. Consider subscribing if you want videos on how to master yourself and scale with peak focus, clarity, discipline, and self-belief. So first of all, what is a belief? A belief is a guardrail for your thoughts and emotions. In essence, it is something that you believe is true, that for whatever reason you have internalized as a truth of the universe or your life, your business, whatever. It is the things that you do not even consider them to be wrong, just as something that they are what they are. And the problem with this is that oftentimes those guardrails are wrong. We do not update them as frequently as we need to in order to accommodate for the ever-increasing growth that we seek. Every time we have a belief, it is limiting our ability to think outside of that belief. If we believe, for instance, that money is very hard to come by, it is going to be very hard to develop the thoughts that eventually lead to the behaviors that will make us money. Remember that we have cognition that leads to behavior, right? Cognition is your thoughts and your emotions. This is your cognition. So, beliefs are basically guardrails for your thoughts. If you believe, I am not good at marketing, guess what? You're going to have it very hard to develop mastery in marketing, because you're consistently creating a space in which the only thoughts that can exist within that space are, I'm not good enough. So that is limiting your ability to develop yourself, right? So this is how beliefs work. They are guardrails for our cognition. They limit the scope of the things that we actually think about and eventually do something about. So in order to have the right behaviors, we first need to have the right thoughts and emotions. So we need to architect the belief system that allows us to have that behavior. So there's a circular relationship between behaviors, cognition, and beliefs. Of course, by changing our belief system, we change our thoughts, and by re-architecting our thoughts, we also change our belief system. So there is a circular relationship going on all the time. And when we are attempting to achieve something we have never done before, a very interesting dynamic happens, because if there's something we've never done before, we have no evidence that we are able to do it. We may see other people doing it, but we don't know whether it's going to work for us. We have no idea whether this is going to be replicable in our life and our business. So at this point, what we need to be thinking about about is how can I re-architect the belief system to allow me to attempt it without self-sabotaging. Because if right from the bat, I believe it's impossible to scale my business to 1 million a month, I will never develop the right thoughts and emotions and eventually behaviors to help me achieve them. It's just impossible. So we need to first work on the belief system. And before we work on the belief system, we need to understand how does the mind create performance problems? Because performance problem really is a mismatch between the conscious and the subconscious side of the mind. So if you consciously want something, but you subconsciously don't believe you are worth it, that you don't deserve it, when there's some sort of friction between your thoughts and your beliefs, that is when performance problems happen. So let's assume that your beliefs are subconscious and they are intimately related to your thoughts. Cool? Which are conscious. You are conscious of the things that you are thinking, right? So this gap between what you believe you're able to do or what you believe you deserve and the thoughts that you consciously manufacture, that you constantly create, is what creates performance problems. If everything, the belief and the thought is aligned, you absolutely believe that you are able to do what you are going to do, there will be no performance problems. You're just going to do it. You're going to say you're going to do it, and then you're going to do it. But if you are trying to do something you don't intrinsically believe is worth it, or you don't deserve it, or you're not skilled enough, or whatever stuff you are telling yourself, guess what? You're not going to achieve it. And based off this relationship between thoughts and beliefs, there's in essence 3 levels to how beliefs affect performance. Level 1 is what I call desiring to win, right? So level 1 is desire. When you want something, I would love to scale my business to 1 million a month. I'd love to scale it to 10 million a month. I'd love to become a millionaire. I'd love to, travel the world. There's all sorts of things that you may be willing to do, and you desire to do them. But when you desire something and you don't consciously do anything about it, you really do not believe it subconsciously, nor your conscious mind is able to create the right thoughts and behaviors in order to take you there. So at this level, there really is no conscious and no subconscious alignment at all, because none of them are actually believing or aligned with the goal. So at this level, desire really is about having a pipe dream. This is daydreaming land. It's things that you want, but you don't really know how to do it, and you don't even care enough to actually figure it out. And this is where most people live. They desire a lot of things, but they achieve very little, because they never go to the higher levels of how belief actually affects your performance. Level 2 is, let's call it, belief you can. Right? So level 2 is when you believe you can do it. When you are gravitate consciously towards achieving something. You are hell-bent on making sure it happens. And you're consistently navigating the doubts. You're consistently trying to accommodate your conscious thoughts and your conscious intentions with your belief system. This is when you're stretching yourself outside of your comfort zone and you believe you can achieve it, but you still have no evidence that this is going to happen. At this level, you are consciously believing in something, but unconsciously you're not there yet, which is why you have to brainwash yourself into success. You have to brainwash yourself into thinking that you're going to achieve that goal. At this point, there's still performance problems. There's still friction between what you consciously want and you subconsciously feel you deserve. This is one level better, of course, than just wanting something, right? But it is not good enough yet because it doesn't give you the right performance you need to achieve the results. There's one more level that really helps you manufacture elite performance. And that is when you expect to win, right? Expect you can. When you expect something, you don't even give it a second thought. You consciously believe you're going to achieve something and you subconsciously expect it to happen. So there's no friction whatsoever. You just show up, do the work, and eventually wait for the results to come. At this point, there are no performance problems. This is the holy grail of mental performance. This is what every elite athlete is trained to manufacture in their day-to-day. When you expect to be at your absolute best, then every time you have second thoughts, second doubts, you let them go because they do not align with the intrinsic core belief that you are literally going to get whatever you want because it's just a matter of really believing in it. You eventually perform at your peak. Every time I read a biography by any billionaire, right? The last one was Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's always some sort of discussion about how belief eventually shapes the behavior. Belief to the point of expectation, that they have no doubt that things are going to turn out exactly as they want them to turn out. And this is the core of training your belief system because everything has to be directed towards your expectation. How can you train your expectation to align conscious and subconscious so you can get for it? This is a core fundamental question of elite performance. And the answer is really very, very simple. You'll be surprised how simple this is, but most people forget it. It is stacking undeniable evidence that this is going to happen by creating systems for that to happen, right? So, suffocate the doubt, plus let go of expectation. So this is one of those paradoxes of elite performance, right? This is why elite performance is hard if you're untrained because it seems counterintuitive and it seems contradictory on the surface, but you got to navigate the tension between these two. On the one hand, when you need to manufacture an expectation of success, you need to suffocate the doubt by creating the right systems for that doubt to disappear. So let's say that you want to, let's create a very simple example for business, right? So let's assume that you are going to be, you need to sign a client within the next month, right? Through cold email, right? It will be absolutely unreasonable, right? That if you get training, so you learn the technical skills and send 10,000 emails or 1,000 emails let's say a day, it will be absolutely unreasonable to not sign one client. It will be absolutely impossible, right? You should be sending like 300, right? So when you create the right cold email system that implies, learning the skills, but also doing the right behaviors, you expect to get a client. Like there's literally no way this is not going to work because you have the KPIs and the data and the training and the support and the community in order to get this result. This is how you suffocate the doubt. Every time the doubt comes to you and say, maybe what if I don't get it? It doesn't matter because you are doing everything you can and you are setting up the system so that you expect to get it. If you do everything you can, but really everything you can in order to get something, you tend to get it, which is why it really is a matter of design systems that suffocate that doubt. And then, and this is the second part of the equation, you have to let go of that expectation, because mismanaged expectations are one of the core drivers of entrepreneurial misery. If you believe you deserve something and you attach yourself to the outcome, you are on the road to hell, because every time expectations don't match your results, and oftentimes you have no control over that, especially in the short term. In the long term, and you end up winning every time you persist and you keep honing those systems. But in the short term, you very well may not get the results you want. And this is when letting go of the expectation helps. Not helps, it's absolutely fundamental. A good example of this might be an elite athlete that for 4 years, he or she is training for the Olympic Games. He's doing everything the trainer or coach is telling him or her to do. He's dialed in his nutrition, his sleep, every single system of his life is dialed in. He's following all the protocols, training very hard, resting. Everything is exactly on point. The systems that person has created make it unreasonable to believe that she or he is not going to do well in the Olympics. When the time comes to get on the court and perform, the only thing that might hurt that performance is the expectation of success. So elite athletes are told to suffocate the doubt, let go of that expectation, and just focus on the present moment. This combo, suffocate the doubt through systems and let go of expectation, really is the core driver of expecting to win, expecting you can do something. That is how you manufacture belief. So, as I just said, everything you have to do in order to drive the behavior you want is creating the right belief system to give yourself the chance to perform that behavior. And everything has to be directed towards expecting to win, making sure that you understand what are the core drivers of that belief system that illuminates the thoughts that eventually illuminates the behaviors. Now, how do you achieve things that you haven't done before? How do you manufacture an expectation on something that is uncertain? This is so powerful. I hope you're paying attention, because this is the kind of thing you cannot read in books. And once you internalize this, it really changes the game, right? So let's assume this is zero. Cool. This is $0 per month. Cool. And we want to get to 1 million a month. Okay? Let's see, we first have 5K a month. Then we have 10K. Then we have 100K. Then we have 500K a month, and then eventually we get to 1 million a month, right? So this is, if you are an entrepreneur, I assume this is the staircase that you want to climb. And I'll assume that you haven't climbed it yet, right? So how do you, let's say that you are at zero. How do you manufacture belief in your ability to get to 5K a month? Well, you do what I told you before. You create systems based on your experience and vicarious experiences. Vicarious experiences mean other people's experiences, which can be it can be a mentor, it can be a coach, it can be a friend, doesn't matter, right? The point is, you create the right systems to get to the next level, and you remove the doubt by creating these systems, right? Let's say that you know that you are right now are 2K a month. And 2K a month, I'll assume that this is one client, right? And in order to get one client, you had to send, I have no idea, let's say 200 emails, right? Well, assuming that this numbers hold true, how many more clients do you need to get to 5K a month? Assuming it is the same price, let's say 2 more clients, right? In order to get to 6K a month. So assuming the numbers hold, it will be what? It will be 600 emails. Cool. This should give you 3 clients. At this level, you might still believe that this is not enough. So just fucking send 6,000. Send 6,000 emails so that the possibility of failing is not even considered. If you got 1 client at 200 emails, how on earth are you not going to get 2 more if you send 5,800 more emails? It just doesn't make sense. You consciously realize that there's no way this is not going to work. So the only thing you got to do is to make sure that you send this. Which is why I always, there's a saying I tell to my clients is, you're always 1 system and 1 transformation away. The system is what you do. The transformation is who you become. You become the kind of guy that can send 6,000 emails while others send 200. This is the transformation you need to go through. This is the elite performance framework. And how do you do the next level? Exactly in the same way. Now, at some point, you will realize that you have to change the systems. Sometimes the systems do not hold, and you have to change your approach. Sometimes the underlying mechanism or system doesn't work anymore, and you need to adjust and adapt, and that is totally okay, because it's always the same principle. You look to create the systems, remember, always 1 system, based on what you've learned from the past and what are your curious experiences. Like for me, for instance, I have no idea how to get to 500K a month yet. I still haven't got to 100K a month, but my level right now is about 76K a month, right? So I have a sensible idea of how to sustain 76K a month, right? This is the level I'm at. This is the thing that I know how to do. Now, it seems like 100K and 76 is pretty much the same, right? So I should be able to get there. But I'm pretty sure that this is a totally different ballgame. And this is a totally different ballgame, right? So this really is how you look at creating the right belief systems. First, you consciously create a system that works, that suffocates the doubt, that gives you the ability to rationally justify that belief, and then you transform your belief system by re-architecting that expectation, right? This really is how you get things done. This is what eventually drives the behavior you need in order to get where you want to get. This is absolutely fundamental. This is one of the core drivers of entrepreneurial excellence. It's not how much marketing you know, right? Knowing marketing is good, is a technical skill, but it is belief systems, performance skills, what is going to give you the edge. If you want to be part of the world's #1 institute on this, so we can help you architect a belief system that allows you to scale fast, so you know exactly how to get to the next level, who do you need to become, and what systems you need to create in order to get there, book a call with us, and we'll help you audit first your business and your mind, and then see how fast we can help you scale to the next level, whatever that next level is. For us, we're mostly working on people that are on the 8 to like 20K, more or less. And we're doubling 2.1x within 3 months, just by helping them become more productive, more focused, and start creating the right belief system and the right systems to get it done. They do exactly the same, literally cold email or paid ads or whatever it is they choose to do, but their performance shoots up, right? So this is part of what we do, right? This is the thing that books do not discuss, but makes all the difference, right? Again, book a call with us if you want our one-on-one help, and of course, see you in the next video.